Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Week 14 edition of the Border NFL Gurus Commissioner's Address. I can smell the fantasy playoffs in the air, and it smells fucking delicious. We did not have a Commissioner's Address last week due to the fact that I didn't make one. I didn't have time. But forget about last week. Let's go ahead and jump into this week. Our fantasy football quarterfinal matchups. Let's go ahead and open up with Joe Buck Yourself versus Rogers Dodgers. This one was a barn burner to start with. There was about a 0.8 separation heading into the Monday nighter. Joe Buck Yourself had Kenyon Drake playing, and Rogers Dodgers had Eric Lee, some no-name D lineman who he thought maybe could bail him out, and ended up fucking putting up 2 points for him. So good call on starting him, I guess. Regardless, Kenyon Drake had a night. He put up 19.3 without a touchdown. So Joe Buck Yourself takes this one, 109.38 to 92.96. Joe Buck Yourself trumps Rogers Dodgers. That's your 3 versus 6 matchup. And Rogers Dodgers gets bounced in the first round for a second straight year. So great job, Joe Buck Yourself, and well deserved. Finishing third this year, didn't deserve a first round exit. Let's slide over to Billy Large versus Hanging with Hernandez. Billy Large taking this one, 115 to 100. Billy being the 1 seed, he's moving on, and he was led by Carson Wentz. Now, in the process, Carson Wentz tore his ACL, which is a devastating loss for Billy. And so he's going with Big Ben or Kirk next week. But Le'Veon Bell, 30 points. I mean, those two guys alone put up 65 points for him. His defense was looking a touch anemic this week, but regardless, does not matter. Hanging with Hernandez, starting 2 defenders who were out. I don't fucking know what to say to that. It's fucking playoffs, and you're starting, like, these guys are not so valuable that you have to hang on to them and you can't drop them. But regardless, and the Kamara injury did not help either. He left about 2 minutes into that game. So all in all, he deserved to lose this game. That's just how it happens. So yeah, he kind of sealed his own fate. I mean, it wasn't a blowout. If he had those 2 defenders in, he very well could have won this game. But he didn't. So, yeah, fucking bonehead move. Seems like a real crazy thing to do. Regardless, Billy moving on to the next round. Let's jump over to, if my computer will load up here. It's going to try and be slow now. Wow, this is something else. Okay, moving over to the Panty Raiders versus Race Finkles. This one was a barn burner right to the end, a real fucking nail biter, if you will. But Race Finkles trumps Panty Raiders 131 to 128. This one was a dandy. She was tight all the way through the Monday nighter. Race Finkles had Dion Lewis going for him, and Panty Raiders had Rashad Jones. So it was a back and forth battle. Nonetheless, Race Finkles picking up the W. Josh McCown opting to go with, or Panty Raiders opting to go with Josh McCown, who put up negative 1.46 points. Well, he decided to leave Dak Prescott on his bench, who put up 32. Strange decision to go with Josh McCown. I mean, I know they're playing the Broncos, and Denver's bad this year, but it's still the Jets. So, I mean, it is what it is, and it's a tough decision to hang your fantasy playoff life on Josh McCown. But, I mean, hey, that's something else. And our last game was the Iredell Beckhams versus Rosterbation. Iredell Beckham's taking this one rather handily, 139 to 117. That is your 7 seed knocking out your 2 seed. And, hey, old Jay Watt always finding a way to sneak into those playoffs and get it done. His offense was fairly explosive. He had Thielen with 17, Crowell with 13, Hunt with 19. His two DBs put up 22 combined. His defense looked real good, actually. And he was just too much for Rosterbation. Not that Rosterbation had a bad day. I mean, 117 is not a bad day. But the Iredell Beckhams was just that much stronger. So I digress. J. Watt moving on. And the stage is set for next week. If we go ahead and look at our semifinals, we have Billy Large versus Ray Finkles in semifinal 1. Semifinal 2, we have Joe Buck Yourself versus the Iredell Beckhams. Both should be dandy matchups. We'll see if Billy Large can overcome that Wentz injury. He's got Big Ben playing the Pats, so it might be a viable start. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But moving over to our blowout of the week. Well, that belongs to Rosterbation, and they proceeded to get blown out by the Iredell Beckhams by 22 points in a playoff game, which is too bad. But hey, Iredell Beckham's looking dangerous right now. Congratulations to the both of you on that one. Whoever wants to be happy about that, then awesome. Our Jackass of the Week. Well, you better believe that one's going to go to Hanging with Hernandez, Mr. Brian Harder. I don't know who starts two defensive players that aren't playing. Like I said, he was very much alive in this thing, and just opted to not start a DB or a linebacker. So that's weird. And it cost him. That could have been the difference between him moving on and now he's not fucking moving on. So, yeah, it is what it is. Mr. Harder, you are our Jackass of the Week. Like I said, we have our semifinals next week. Billy Large versus Ray Finkles and Joe Buck Yourself versus Iredell Beckhams. Both should be dandies. Iredell Beckham's looking dangerous right now, so Joe Buck Yourself's really going to have to show up. And we also have our consolation playoff starting next week. Not that anybody really gives a shit, but yeah, we can have a look ahead to those as well. With the losses, that leaves Hanging with Hernandez playing Panty Raiders and Rogers Dodgers playing Rosterbation in the consolation round. So yeah, it should be a dandy. It's going to be electric, exciting, all those good things, and yeah. Hang on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to have some barn burners. So until next time, keep playing that wire. All hail the commish.